let's see now. And hey, we're live. Welcome everyone. Live. We are live. It's better than the alternative, I will say that. 5 million comedians out of work, and I'm cracking jokes on a live stream. Hey everyone, welcome to SVT time. It is Tuesday. It's another episode of SVT time. I'm going to say we're on episode 53, but I could be wrong here. But after 50 birthdays, we stop counting anyways.
Yeah.
What's up, Dom? How you doing, buddy?
What's up? I'm good. I'm good. I got a bass in hand, so that's I'm always well.
I've got bass nearby, so in case you know. Let's see. Alberto, Daniel, ciao, Alberto. Ciao. Hey, so in case you didn't join us on the last SVT time, we talked about the SGT-DI, and we got such an overwhelming response from everybody about talking about gear that we're kind of going to do the same thing for this SVT time. This time we're talking about pedals. We're talking about in fact, let me switch my camera here because you don't need to see my ugly mug all the time. But Dom's got his pedals set up there. And what's going on with my camera here?
As you can see, Dino, I give you a little bit more love than me here.
Yeah, well, no, but you know, I've had these pedals for so long. But yeah, we're talking about the Optical, we're talking about the Liquifier, the Scrambler Bass Overdrive, the classic pedal, of course, the SCR-DI, and Dom's got his Optical set up, his Liquifier, and his SGT-DI set up. So now, just so you guys know, this isn't just about pedals too. We can talk about all sorts of gear. So please, if you're watching, by all means, posting your comments, questions, concerns, whatever you want to talk about in terms of gear. But for right now, I think we're going to talk about what we have set up for pedals. So as you guys all know, you know, we launched the SGT-DI. Gosh, it's been almost a month now. March 28th.
March 29th. Or 20th. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, so one thing a lot of people didn't realize is that Ampeg has been doing pedals now for about 10 years. We have obviously we launched the SCR-DI, which was kind of the precursor to the SGT-DI. And, same kind of setup where you have the SCR section, the Scrambler section, and then the preamp section, and then the headphone section and the DI and everything. So this has been out for about 10 years now. Great pedal. It's done really well. A lot of people really enjoy it. There's been some, there have been some things and some issues that we had with the SCR-DI. I have to say SCR-DI, so I'm not confusing it with SGT-DI. Yeah, there were some things that, we could have probably done a little bit differently. I know there were a lot of people that were concerned about the -15 dB switch. Not being on the face of the panel, face of the pedal. You had to go in and do that little dip switch on the bottom. But but for all intents and purposes, it still is a great pedal. People are asking like, hey, with the SGT-DI out, are you guys still doing the SCR-DI? And the answer is yes. Yeah, we are still currently making the SCR-DI. And then shortly, about a year or two after the SCR-DI came out, a lot of customers were calling and saying, man, I don't use the Scrambler section of the pedal. So is there just a preamp version available, or vice versa? I'm not using the preamp, but I really dig the Scrambler section. So that's what prompted these two guys. So we launched the Classic, which is essentially the preamp side of the SCR-DI. And then we launched the Scrambler pedal, which is kind of an enhanced version of the SCR section of the SCR-DI. The difference between the two is now you have a blend control, treble control, volume, and the drive control. So you have 4 controls versus the 2 on the SCR-DI.
Hey, Dino, do you mind lifting that pedal board up just a little bit to see the top of the? Yeah,
absolutely. A little bit. So yeah, this is, I apologize for the lighting too, but yeah, so you have the Classic on off, the Scrambler on off, and of course my Logitech webcam is freaking out every time I move. It's trying to refocus and keep up. So yeah, let me see if I can actually get a little bit closer. And if you're not familiar with the pedals, you can always go to the Ampeg website. They're all on there too, so you can get specs and stuff like that. And then we also did the Liquifier, which is a dual chorus pedal, and the Opticomp, which is a true optical compressor. So for anybody that's asking, what is a dual chorus? And I'll answer that. So basically, with a chorus pedal, you have two signals going through the pedal. You have your clean signal, which is your bass straight through the pedal, and then you have your affected signal, which is what causes the chorusing, right? With a dual chorus, it takes your clean signal and splits it into two affected signals. So now it's not stereo, but it's dual. So now you have one chorus, kind of, you know, when you listen to a chorus wave, how a chorus goes up and then it comes down. So you have one wave or one signal doing that, and in the meantime, you have another one crossing over it. So the purpose of that is so that you never lose any bass response. While one chorus is phasing in, the other one is phasing out. So you know, with most, like some chorus pedals with a bass especially, you lose a lot of bottom end.
Yeah.
When it kind of phases through, you get that really wonky, like out of phase type sound. This, what it does is it allows for both sides of the signal to be crossing over each other.
Yeah, that makes sense, because that's what I love most about this chorus pedal that I haven't found elsewhere, is that low end retention is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. And it's not, you know, I know it says, you know, this is a bass, you know, obviously Ampeg is known for bass stuff, but it is a killer guitar pedal too. Yeah.
If you turn up the rate and the depth, the rate and the depth, you kind of border, because of the dual chorus, you start to border into somewhat of like a tremolo effect. So like for a lot of rock and roll players, exactly. See, you've got your audio set up. I get Dom and I were just talking about this. It's like we're gonna have to schedule like a demo day where someday Dino's gonna figure out how to use all this equipment and be able to live stream it, because right now nothing is. I've got it plugged in, but you're not going to be able to hear it.
Yeah, so using it in person is one thing. Getting it to go through on a live stream is a whole other drama there.
If there's anybody in Southern New Hampshire or Northern Mass that wants to come to the studio and work with me for a couple hours and show me how to use all this stuff, I'd be happy to pay you in hoodies and pedals.
And pedals, yeah.
And pedals too. So and then last but not least is the Opticon, and this is a true optical compressor pedal. There is an optical device in there that triggers the compressor turning on and off like a normal optical compressor is supposed to do. So there's like a photo sensor that's focused on the light, and actually I'm told that. Well, Dom, you know what? I might be able to do it here. Yeah, if you can.
Want to trigger that threshold?
Yeah. So when that light's coming on, that's actually the photo sensor is focused on that LED, and that's what's triggering the compressor. So, so as you're playing, you're seeing that green LED come on. Yep. And it's funny too, because a lot of people don't know that we do a really killer compressor pedal too. And again, it's not just for bass players; guitar players can take advantage of this pedal as well. And it's just a killer optical compression pedal that you can put on your board. You can use it in the studio too, but it's mostly designed to go on a pedal board, like you see on my board here. And I have it first in my signal chain. There's huge debates. Yeah. Anytime we have an SVT time, we talk about, you know, uses presets, it's like that's the first question that comes up is where do you put the compression in your signal chain? And
yeah, I want to know. I want people to use the chat. Tell me if you prefer in front or after everything.
Yeah,
or somewhere in between. Just I want to know where you all are putting your compressors.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a wrong place to put it.
Yeah,
you know, traditionally most guys will put it in the front of their signal chain just so that everything going after that is kind of leveled and hits the rest of their signal chain and at a leveled signal, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's really no wrong place to put it. For a while, I was putting it. I have a deep impact, Akai deep impact SB1 synth pedal that gets kind of crazy. Like some of the square waves can get kind of wild, and I was putting my compressor after my synth pedal to kind of level out some of those crazy square waves. Yeah. So
Eric Shank says, I don't use other compressors. Ampeg gave me a built-in compressor. Love that. I'm assuming you're using the SGT-DI maybe, or maybe a 4 Pro or maybe a PF rig.
Yeah, could be a 4 Pro, could be a 7 Pro, could be a PF. Yeah, Jake is saying usually at the beginning or middle, depending on what's on the board. Exactly.
Yeah. Here's the compressor on the SGT-DI. Sorry, this is Dino's got to get his audio in gear, and I got to get my video in gear. There we go. So it's like right here, back knob here. You can see the indicator here that sets your compression. So I'll turn this off, and then use the SGT-DI one. Kind of same concept. You see the light with when the threshold is triggered. Yep.
And that's more of that is the compression circuit on the SGT-DI is more of a linear circuit than an optical circuit. Am I correct in saying that, Dom?
Yep. Yeah, it was a little bit more derivative of the compressor in the PF series, in the Portaflex series. So the Optical is a different beast and has a lot more control in terms of just overall parameters. Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of, just in terms of simplicity of use, that one knob on the SGT-DI, same one knob that's on the Pro series and the PF stuff it is useful. It is useful. Oh, yeah. And I think the biggest thing for me is it's got to be musical. Like it can't, I get my definition of a good compressor is you don't know when it's working and when it's not working. It just kind of does its thing behind the scenes and, just does things when it's supposed to do it, sort of.
Yeah.
I'm just reading some of Jake and Eric's comments here. If you let's see, actually, you know what? I can post this. I have the power. If you line into your amp on the back sound on the back sound, then you override the whole preamp on an Ampeg, and that will destroy the great sound of the amp. But if you put everything in the front, and as long as you don't overgain it, over compress it, should be okay. Great.
Yeah.
Good suggestion. Thanks, Eric. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you for that.
I'm definitely a front of amp fan when it comes to pedals, for sure.
Yeah. Do you use anything do you use the effects loop for anything?
I typically don't. I really like how it interacts with the amp in the front. Yeah.
Like I've always been told, like anything time delay or like a chorus or a flange or echo or anything like that, you should go through your effects loop. And anything that is touch sensitive, like a compression or a limiter or excuse me, even like an envelope filter, that should go into the front of the amp. In my case, I'm just too lazy to carry another cable to run an effect. That's like now I got to carry 3 cables instead of 2.
For guitar, I definitely use effects loop. For bass, even with time bass stuff, I just kind of like throwing it in because I typically there's like an image, like stereo image. I'm typically not on gigs where that's going to matter or where somebody's going to be willing to take that, unfortunately. But
Yeah. Let's see. Portaflex, love to hear it. Got my Oliver sound company. Oh, wow. Jake, you got an old Oliver sound.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Yep. that was the company that Jess Oliver, the president of Ampeg at the time, who designed the B15. When he left Ampeg, he started his own company called Oliver Sound, and he had this amp called the PowerFlex, which was
nice.
It was a B15, but instead of physically having to unlatch the amp and flip it, there was a little toggle switch on the side. You would hit the toggle switch, and the amp it was motorized. The amp would actually rise out of the cabinet.
Wow, that's cool.
And then light up, and then when you were done, you'd flip the switch, and the thing would go back. Now it was almost like an R2D2 type concept. So yeah.
I agree, Eric. Everyone who plays bass should own an Ampeg amp. I agree.
I agree. I mean, you could own other amps too, but
yeah, absolutely.
Kind of like,
I think, fortunately, we can call it a research and development in bass history and bass heritage.
Exactly.
We can call that, use that card.
So Dom, what else? So you've got the liquefier and the Opticom set up there, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm using the SGT-DI for the preamp, and I think right now I'm on a 115 cab. To me, this is like, I probably even wouldn't bring the Opticomp because I would just use a compressor on the SGT-DI, but this is pretty much all I need in a rig typically. And what I typically use, got an overdrive that I want, I got a chorus that I want, and between these two, a compressor that I want. I guess you could kind of, if you had these three pedals, you could play with maybe putting this at the end of your signal chain, or maybe actually putting this at the beginning, since this catches the SGT section. So this could kind of be your last bit leveler, kind of more of a limiter function for that compressor. So yeah, this is kind of like all I would ever need. Obviously, if I was doing a more intricate show where more sounds were needed, or I wanted to just add some cool other funky effects, I might start adding some more pedals. But yeah, this one gets the job done for me. Here's just the preamp alone on a SGT-DI. Is that loud enough for you?
Yeah.
And then, I'm sure my mic is catching a little bit of the sound, but so that's with the 115. And you know what? Let's give it a little B15 feel. So I'm using the SGT circuit to not really overdrive it, but just give it a little bit of that tube warmth.
Yep.
You can hear it like kind of barely breaking up at the end there. So let's add the Opticomp into that. Triggering that there. And then let's add in the liquefier. Kind of like how I like to have it set there.
Yeah.
It's a pretty aggressive compression setting, but let's back it off. And then if I kill the Opticomp and then ride in the SGT-DI compressor, let's make sure we're triggering. There we go. It's almost a little more nuanced, or I'm sorry, a little more transparent, the SGT-DI one. The Opticomp, you can definitely tell when you get a little, I mean, I obviously could back off this compression a little bit, but when you get kind of dug in on this, it's more of a brick wall if you want it, which I really like. And let's hear the two together. So I'll catch this. Let's go to the SVT, do a little ultra high, ultra low. Let's change this to the 810. So now if we're getting more of an overdriven sound, you can see how these two compressors can kind of play nicely with each other.
Yeah. So you kind of you're hitting it going in and then hitting it coming back out again as well.
Yep.
Which it's actually a really cool sound. That's a cool sound.
Yeah, I like
that.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, and one thing I learned, because I was never much of a big compressor guy. And it comes from, I had a teacher at MI. His name was Jim Lacefield, and he prided himself on, he was a studio guy, and he always took pride in the fact that no matter what studio he would be in, they would never need a compressor on him because his touch was so exact.
Yeah.
That it was like it was never, he was never overdriving or pushing anything. It was just, so that's kind of where I had come from. It's like, man, your compression should come from your hands. But one thing that the more that I've gotten into the Opticomp and of course the SGT-DI compressor, but mostly from the Opticomp, was being able to bring your levels up in your signal, like your overall volume, but then dialing in just the right amount of compression. Again, remember how I was saying, like, you don't want to know that the compressor is working, basically, yep. But it's there enough so that your levels, it's almost like you're riding right on that threshold of going into clipping, where, you know, you're bringing your levels up, you're bringing your EQ up, you're making your bass more pronounced in a mix, live mix or a studio mix, but then you're just adding just enough compression so that it doesn't get annoying and it doesn't stop pushing your signal into the red. And that, to me, that's kind of my idea of what a compressor allows you to do, as a bass player. And also, when I went to in-ears, that was the other big thing. It was like, I definitely need some kind of compression because I'm killing myself in my in-ears. You know?
Yeah, and you want that nice balance of really being able to dig in if you need to, but having the feel of like it's just smooth and you're as if you're playing through a massive amp in your ears. But yeah, the second you kick in an overdrive or start slapping and popping, that first of all, in-ears I think are, at least the ones that I have, 10 to 12 dB hotter than any headphones just in general. And then they're physically, you know, you can't escape quickly if you need to. So it's very scary, and it's very good to have good compression for that.
Especially if you've got an irate or an errant monitor mix. Monitor mixer. So.
Yeah, agreed. Eric said too much compression will make the low end disappear. Totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
Yep.
Very true. So yeah, that covers the Opticomp as well. And you know, let me switch my camera. And again, guys,
I was gonna say, hit us with questions about anything.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be pedals either. And honestly, I say this at the end of every broadcast, and I know I say it kind of quick and dismissive, but you know, please hit us up even during this broadcast. Let us know what you guys want us to talk about or show, or if there's an artist that you want on SVT time as well. You know, we're always happy to get artists on here as well. It's been a little bit, I don't want to say tougher, but it's now with, you know, again, with the world kind of opening up this time of year, everybody's going on tour. And, you know, of course, all of our artists are always happy to give us their time when they can and come on and do guest spots on SVT time. But, you know, it's good to, nothing makes me happier when I call somebody and they say, dude, I'm going to be in Europe that week, or, you know, catch me in 6 months because I'm busy touring. It's like, all right, that's a good, I can't do SVT time reason.
Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, put it in the comments, and you know, we'll always do our best here to get artists and cover whatever you want to talk about. So switching back over here, man, I wish I could get my. So you're not getting any of that through the signal, right?
No. I'm curious if I hook up SVT Suite, if we can do it that way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Turn,
because you don't have Classic in the suite, but you do have the SCR, the Scrambler in the suite. Yeah.
Oh, Yeah, well, the audio for that's working.
Yeah, your audio's working.
All right, let me turn off this.
And I think let me comment here. It was, who was it that said that chimed in earlier? Jake Letizia. Jake, are you serious? Are you just down the road? Southern New Hampshire, northern Massachusetts. You never know. I might be calling on you, Jake, to come in here and give me a quick lesson.
That doesn't work. Okay, that's
Yeah.
that. Let me. That's the IR loader. Let me add SVT suite.
All right. Yeah. Jake just said.
Nice. Let's do window capture.
Thank you, Jake.
That's not what I want. That's what a loopback looks like. Let's go to. Where is it?
If you can't get it done, it's no big deal.
I think I can. There we go. Okay, that's that. Oh, I'm one off here. Let's go. Tell some jokes while I figure this out.
I'm all out of jokes, dude.
No way.
Yeah, I'm kind of out of the joke business, sort of.
One second. I'm so close. I gotta remove this.
So what we're actually going to talk about is the Scrambler pedal next, and just kind of some of the features and how that evolved. If anybody recalls, the original Scrambler pedal was actually a guitar pedal. It wasn't really designed for bass. It was designed for guitar, and it was more of a Octavia overdrive sort of distortion. If you're familiar with the outro solo of All Along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix, that is the original Scrambler that he's playing through. And from what I'm told from guitar players that are pretty intimate with the pedal, it reacts differently the way you play in certain, like you can play the same passage in different areas of the neck on different gauges of the strings, and it will react differently. So you got it going.
I got it going. All right, so I'm going to turn off all my physical pedals except for the preamp. And
oh, I got the wrong one here. Hold on.
Let's see if this is actually coming through.
Hey Dom, we lost your screen.
Oh, sorry. That's
all right. We'll forgive you.
Real question is, are we hearing this?
Yeah. So right now you've got the Octaver and the Opticom going, right?
Yeah, I don't think that I'm hearing that through. Yep, give me one moment.
Here I am with my cursor trying to engage the Scrambler on your screen, like thinking it's going to work.
I think I gotta just log in here. I think that's the issue. Nothing like trying to remember a password when you're on a live stream. That's
right.
A lot of pressure. I want to know, does anybody on the chat have SVT or SGT-DI rather? The newest one. That's what I want.
The newest one. Yeah, just give us a thumbs up if you do, and what your thoughts are on it. Or if you still are, if you're running an SCR-DI, your thoughts on that as well. Because I think the SCR-DI is 10 years old now, if I'm not mistaken. It's just coming on about 10 years old.
Yeah, I think you're right. Huh. I definitely had it for a second. You heard the...
Yeah.
Oh, that's why. There we go. Okay. I'm a genius, Dino.
I never.
All right, here we go.
I would never dispute that.
All right, let me turn off the cab. So we just have the preamp.
Hey, thank you for that comment, Mark. We are both goats, but not in the way I think you're referring to it as, or a certain anatomy of the goat.
All right, here's the great thing about SVT Suite. So I have the preamp of the SGT-DI going, and obviously I want to hear this through a cab. So now we got these two SVT cabs that we're going through, and that way we can do a proper comparison of the SGT circuit and the Scrambler. Let me make sure I'm not clipping too much. And I'll turn that off too, just to be safe. Hopefully, if you guys aren't familiar.
Is that an SVT-DI in that section?
That is. It is a parallel out with an SVT-DI model. And the cool thing about this that isn't on the actual real product, which is now discontinued, but it's been such a favorite, we wanted to add it in here. You can add saturation to your DI signal.
That's right.
Which is super cool. Just adds a little bit of fatness, and it saves you from having to have a separate track with a DI signal on it.
Yeah.
You can basically blend that in. All right, so this is... Sorry, go ahead, Dino.
No, I was going to say I knew it was there, but I was just pointing out the obvious. I have a keen sense of the obvious, as they tell me.
You were leading it. I liked it. I like leading the witness there a little bit. All right, so here's Scrambler. So that is definitely a very distinct sound of like an SVT grind. And the thing that a lot of people love about this pedal is the volume and blend. So you can blend that in nicely. I'm going to max out the drive so you can get a better idea when I compare to SGT-DI. I'll do the same on the SGT. So to me, it's a little brighter than the SGT circuit, and though it has that SVT grind, it's definitely compared to SGT-DI, there's a little low end loss. We really wanted to focus on the low end not only being maintained with the SGT circuit, but actually having a little bit of a boost like you would if you were going through just some more tubes, just a little bit of that fat low end. So it definitely is still retained to an acceptable amount here with the Scrambler, but just not as much as the SGT-DI. SGT circuit has just a little bit of a boost to it as well. So one more time, here's Scrambler. And now I'm going to kick in the SGT circuit right here.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that's louder. That's cheating.
Yeah.
So obviously it depends on what you're listening through, but there is this almost like sub ultra low element to it, even though my ultra low is off. That is maintained with the SGT-DI. And that's the SVT voice as well. We have the B15, which is a little more subtle. And then the SVT. Let's do this kind of thing with it. Let's do that. Ampeg. There we go.
Yeah.
Switch over the Scrambler one more time. There's definitely an argument to be made that if you had like a standalone SGT, and then you had this pedal together, that both you would almost want to keep both for just different flavors.
It sounds to me now that, because actually this is the first time we've actually demoed them side by side. The SGT sounds to me more like a live rig, like a live SVT, just being overdriven to heck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anybody that stood in front of an SVT and just dimed it. Yeah. That's what the SGT to me sounds like. Whereas the Scrambler still sounds good, but it sounds more like just an overdrive pedal.
Yeah, I agree.
Or I don't want to say distortion pedal, but more of an overdrive pedal.
Yeah.
And they're both overdrive circuits, but the SGT, like you say, you're not losing any of that warmth that you do with the SCR. It seems like.
And when you let's back off the drive a little bit on this. So you're going to go about halfway. The drive taper on this is pretty different too from the SGT, where even down here you're getting a good bit of it's a good bit of overdrive. Obviously you can ride in that blend.
Yeah.
So it still sounds like, it's a mild overdrive, but like you're saying, compared to SGT-DI, which I will go through here on a similar setting, where you have, let's go grit down, but like level up. It's a little more true to like a live amp, like you're saying. Yep. Yeah. So it's still overdriving when you dig in. It's a little more based on your touch. And then take it down even more. But when you take it off and there's no SGT, there's a significant difference, and you can feel that low end kick in. So if you wanted to bring this and you don't necessarily want an overdrive going, there's still the taper of this grit. We worked really, really hard on to make sure all these settings are very usable. And between that and the B15, if you wanted to go even more kind of Motown feel and play with this grit and level, it's just a nice, fat, kind of clean sound.
Yep.
Actually.
Yeah, it's definitely, like you said, the argument could be made to like, and this is something that, obviously since we launched SGT-DI, a lot of guys and gals have been writing in saying, should I keep my SCR-DI? Should I keep my the argument could be made like they're two different animals. You're getting kind of two different sounds. And if you have that individual scrambler pedal, definitely that is a different flavor of overdrive that you can incorporate. John Willis, I'm going to post his comment here. So John Willis, who, for those of you that are familiar with Helix for Bassists, the Helix for Bassists group, and John has just been a huge friend of Ampeg and Line 6 as well. He's a big proponent of using the Helix, but he recently just got an SGT-DI. He made a very interesting comment here. He's using the comp to add as a sag control for the grit function. And like he says, that's where the real magic happens in a DAW. So very interesting comment there, John. If anybody knows John like I do, John picks apart, like he gets deep into the weeds on a product, and he's a great source of information. Like if you're ever trying to get a question answered on what a specific control does in any given pedal. So thank you, John, for that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I actually just speaking of the B15 on the SGT, I want to give a little bit of since I have the flats now.
Oh yeah.
Just give a little bit of a demo of that. So that's with the ultra high and ultra low on, but I always like that mid popping through when you take off the ultra low.
Yeah.
I like that just barely overdriven kind of B15 sound. And then obviously that's on the 810. So we switched. Oh, never mind. I had caps off. But when you turn, let's actually do this. So we have switch over to our 15s here. Actually, I'll turn that one off. That's a little more B15-ish. So I actually want to talk about these two pedals in SVT Suite that don't exist in the real world, but maybe they could.
You never know.
You never know. What do we think about the Phase of Fire? Sorry, I think somebody's mowing the lawn outside. I'm sure. That is not the sound of the pedal, I promise. That's got a nice, cool 70s vibe to it. And then our Octaver here. Yeah, I love these virtual pedals. Maybe we can.
I was going to say, yeah, I was going to say, could the argument be made to put those in the real world at some point?
I think so. I think I know a guy.
I think I know a guy. And if you guys, if anybody digs that wants to see him, by all means, put them in the comments or go to Idea Scale and put in an Idea Scale there too. But yeah, that's it's funny because we did do an octave pedal a few years back that was the same size and format as the Scrambler, the original Scrambler pedal.
Ah, okay.
And it was the same circuit that was used on the SVT-5 Pro as well as the B5R. It was a great pedal. The only problem was the thing was literally it was huge and it was heavy.
Yeah.
I want to say the pedal itself was probably a few pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So, putting that on your pedal board wasn't really, but anyways, it was a great pedal. And so when we started working on this for the SVT Suite, I was like, cool to see an octave pedal. And then of course the Phase of Fire.
Yeah.
So we got to see some comments there if you guys actually want to see real pedals or maybe some sort of a virtual Ampeg pedal that that has those parameters or those effects in a multi effect pedal. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's just so many different ways that we can go with this, and it's all up to you guys too, just what you guys want to see. So
I'll see Mark online, and I know that he's got an SGT-DI. Mark, any little delightful things that you found with that? Any signature ways you're using that you want to share?
You never know. And and anybody else that is that's online that's been using the SGT-DI, just kind of fill us in on how you're using it, how you're digging it, and if you're using it live or in the studio. But yeah, and again, if you have any questions on any other gear, we're here. Dom and I, we're the two guys that dream this stuff up, get it built. Dom's the guy that does it all. I just talk about it. And
no way. Couldn't do any of it without you.
Yeah, you could.
Without your support or naysaying, either one.
Sometimes I'm the old fart in the duo. It's like watching the Odd Couple. You're Felix and I'm Oscar.
My favorite comment is whenever I mention something and Dino goes, "Nah, I know how that one ends. The boat sinks and Jack dies every time."
I've seen that movie.
I've seen that movie.
The boat sinks, Jack dies, and there was plenty of room on the door. I will say that.
That's when I know I'm not even close to the realm of something good.
Oh man. Well, what else do we have that we can blab about here for a little bit? Nothing we can talk about that we're working on, but we are working on stuff. So
we're definitely working on stuff.
We are constantly working on things. you know, but obviously we can't talk about it here because then that would just ruin the Christmas surprise for you guys.
We can show this. Oh no, never mind. We can't. I lost my IR loader. But yeah. So the big takeaway from the SGT-DI that none of the other pedals have is this IR loader inside of it, which hopefully it's not going to disconnect. Just on this side of the pedal, if I can ever flip this over gracefully. There we go.
I have to comment on your choice of
plant.
Give me. Well, no, I was going to ask you where does the succulent come into the signal chain?
It sounds great,
but just your choice of cheap patch cables, Dom. We got to
talk. Yeah, it was a very quick setup here. I was trying to incorporate the Ampeg blue.
Don't we know somebody in the cable business?
So you can switch between your 3 loaded IRs. Like we have this software, the IR loader, where you can load in 3 different IRs. We have them preloaded with like a 112, a 212, and a 210. And then when you're up on cab mode, you have the 410, the 810, and the 115. And then you can obviously turn the cab off. This is pretty cool because you can save per IR the level. So the second you set this, it's saved in the device, and then you just push that back in. Obviously, you connect to USB via USB-C for the IR loader, but yeah, you can basically high cut, low cut, and level per IR. You can set those, and it saves automatically. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's built in. This guy's 6 onboard IRs, most in class actually.
What's your favorite cab, Dom?
I gotta say, I stick to this 115. It's the Heritage reissue 115 IR, and I really love it. And if I'm not using that, I'm typically using the 210, the SVT 210 that we load on there. There's something about the mid-range in either one of those that I really like. If I'm going for the typical big SVT overdriven sound, then I'll go to the 810, and I'll have the ultra high and ultra low boosted. That's like my kind of, if I'm just doing the all out rock thing, that's that vibe. But a lot of times I really like, if I was just doing my typical kind of, what would you call it? My like default sound, I would say I'm on the 115. I have the B15 selected here, and I'm barely like maybe that much grit and level boosted.
So you're basically emulating a B15 then, in a lot of ways, right? Yeah. It's funny because I thought my go-to cab would be the 810 all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm actually I'm switching between the 210 and the 212. Actually, I like.
Yeah, the 212 is pretty great too.
On the user side, right?
Yep.
Actually, they're both on the user side, the 210 and the 212.
Yeah. So when you go user, that turns purple.
Yeah.
And I think my 212. Let me do this properly. Kill my cab on here. 212 is here. Oh, I'm overdriving the cab
there you
section.
Are. Yeah.
Yeah, I got like 8 gain stages going here with the plugin. There we go.
It's
yeah, that's the 212. That sounds great. I'll take it off the SGT.
Yeah, real cool. And I mean, have you experimented with any other IRs outside of the Ampeg world by any chance?
I have. You get bored one night, you figure, okay, I'll try it. Yeah. Nothing that I've kept though. I still go back to the ones that are on there. But I've tried a few other 810s like red wires and 3 Sigmas and stuff, and those actually they do sound really good. I tried to mess around with a few orange 810s. Check that out, as well as like an Ashdown 112. So I've messed around with Aguilar 112.
Yep.
But I've messed around with those a little bit, and I always come back to ours.
Yeah.
I'm a loyalist by heart, but no, that's what that user slot's all for. All 3, just throw in what you want.
Yeah, exactly. What is so here's a question coming from the old man in the group. what is, let's say I wanted to, quote unquote, shoot my own IRs here in my studio. Is there a way to do that?
There's a way to do that. There's a few different, I think there's a few different softwares you can get for that, as well as I believe like Quad Cortex and Kemper. I think you are able to capture those. I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can shoot your own IRs, and then you could, yeah. So your specific rig, if you want to take that with you, shoot your IRs, throw it in to SGT-DI with the Ampeg IR loader, and you're good to go.
But you need to have certain software on your computer to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then whatever mic, you know, if you have like a D112 or whatever your mic of flavor is, you can shoot it with that particular mic.
Yep.
Okay. And that's kind of how, like, if you go into the SVT suite, that's how we shot them in the studio and listed the microphone. Like, you know, obviously if it was a Sennheiser or an AKG or something like that, that determines what mic we actually shot those IRs with.
Yeah. All these.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I was just always curious, like, you know, if there's a cost-effective or easy way for somebody to be able to shoot their own IRs. I think you call it shooting your or taking your own IRs or documenting your own IRs, you know, because I'm sure there's somebody out there that has an amazing 810 cab like we do, or, you know, just a cabinet that's like, you know what, this cab's got some mojo in it that I've just not found in other cabinets, and I really want to see if I can capture that.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Speaking of mojo, the SGT-DI has, not that, which one is it? Where did it go? There it is. This 810 is actually the original square back 810. So this isn't the 810 AV or 810 CL that, or yeah, SVT 810 that you're used to, the 810E. This is actually a square back from, I think, the 70s that we had a friend let us kind of use and shoot for SVT Suite and for SGT-DI. So very, very cool. Yeah. It's just got a bigger sound overall.
Yep. Yep. Well, because
it was like a lot heavier, right?
It was definitely a lot heavier.
Yeah.
A lot heavier. Yeah, it was like 19 millimeter Baltic birch. It was just, and the other thing, one of the supposedly the magic between a square back 810 cab and our current 810 cab is if you look at the dimensions, the inner dimensions of a square back, the 4 compartments are identical. From top, you know, all 4 compartments are identical interior dimensions. Whereas if you look at a current 810 cab like we do, the top 210 compartment and the bottom 210 compartment are compromised because they have the bottoms cut out of them to allow for the yeah. So, and I mean, can you hear a difference? Yeah, I think you can. Obviously, you know, you listen to a cabinet that's 70 years old or 50 years old versus a cabinet, but that's one of the magics behind a square back cabinet, and of course the Alnico drivers and all that other fun stuff that's in there too. But,
we have a really cool comment from John Willis talking about his setup for SGT-DI. It's really awesome because he's using that ultra low cut and the right way, in my opinion.
Yeah, so he's mid-frequency at slightly above the 500 mark, level slightly below the 500 mark, and turn the ultra low to far for a low cut. Interesting.
Yeah.
This gives the same mid cut as having the ultra low to the right. Yeah, you're right.
That's cool.
Yep. Yeah. That's because if you do engage the ultra low, you are scooping 500 out as well. So you don't kind of want to. You can do that for certain things, but interesting. That's cool, John. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. We're gonna have to gonna send John a case of Red Bull or something for all the hours he put into digging through this pedal. But thank you, John, for that suggestion. That's awesome. Forrest had commented into using the SGT-DI this weekend for the first time live. Awesome. Using the 410.
Forrest, that's an awesome photo. That is a killer profile pic.
That is a great photo. Yeah, right on. Yeah, great. And let us know how that works for you for us too. By all means, you know, just chime in on the next SVT time, or I'm sure we'll be talking about SGT-DI as well, and getting some other users' inputs on it as well. So,
yeah, Dino, from an touring artist side, you have a few artists now with SGT-DI, and we've had some good comments. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah. Right now, let's see. I'm trying to think some of the well, John Button is using his. Sean Hurley has been using his in the studio. Mark Pacificar is taking his out on the road. Harmony Kelly, who's out on the road right now with Kenny Chesney.
We got some nice comments from her front of house, which is really, that's what we love to hear.
Yeah.
It's one thing if the artist likes it, which is awesome. It's another if the front of house engineer likes it. It's like bonus.
Exactly, because anybody that's been on a big tour like that knows it's like you could bring all the gear in the world that you personally love, but if the front of house guy or front of house gal doesn't like it, you're not using it. Yeah. Especially for front of house. You can use whatever you want on stage, but you know, it's there's front of house engineers out there, like they've been using the same DI for 30 years. But yeah, when you get that endorsement from front of house, it's even more special because they're doing it. So yeah, Harmony's using it. Rudy, actually, Rudy just picked one up, Rudy Sarzo. So he's probably going to be taking one out on the road to some of the Quiet Riot dates. And yeah, so I'm trying to think of some of the other artists out there, but they're kind of filtering in, you know, as they're hitting the road with the SGT-DI. And Dom, I know you got a hard cutoff at the top of the hour, so we've got like just about a minute here.
I actually want to, if you highlight John's last comment, it's a really good idea for like a custom color pedal.
My only complaint is the color scheme is not blue and silver. Sorry, you never know, John.
You never know.
We take all these comments in seriously, so you know. And but thank you for that. Yeah. So guys, gals, again, thank you for tuning in for the hour. We're gonna have another SVT time in 2 weeks. You never know what we're going to throw up on what we're going to throw up on this episode. You never know what I'm going to throw up on this episode. But no, we don't have an artist scheduled for next week, but you never know. We might have an artist. We might be talking more about gear. Again, send your comments in, and you can comment on the Facebook and YouTube channel after this thing has been posted, because we do check that as well to see what everybody's kind of chimed in at. So, Dom, thank you again for carrying the load through this whole thing and doing the sound examples and everything else. Aaron, thank you in the background for watching over us, and Haji for your commentation and everything else. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Be safe out there. Play more bass.
Be safe. Thank you all.
See ya.